Hey guys, Ruse here, formerly known as Soji. This is my 6.2.4 Rep Paladin PvP guide for beginners. In this guide, I'm going to cover pretty much everything there is to know about Ret. I'm going to go through things like talents, abilities, glyphs, gear, enchants, the macros that I use, and also the add-ons that I use. Don't worry, I'll put an adaptation up at the side, on the left-hand side, so if you want to skip through ahead to get anything, you'll be able to do it that way. Otherwise, yeah, sit back and enjoy the video. Cheers. Okay, so let's talk about talents. For level 15 talent, I take Long Arm of the Law. As Ret, you take that one, you don't take any other one. When you judgment somebody, it'll increase your speed by 45% for 3 seconds. So yeah, that's pretty much. I mean, you don't use Speed of Light as Ret at all. It's too long of a cooldown. Pursuit of Justice, yeah, you don't. Once again, you don't use that one either. So yeah, Long Arm of the Law for the first one. For level 30, I take Fist of Justice. Now that's a 6-second stun on a 30-second cooldown. Once again, as Ret, you take that. You don't take the other two. They're pretty much useless for PvP. For the level 45 talent, I take Selfless Healer. Now, what Selfless Healer does is, whenever you judgment somebody, um, it will decrease your cast time by a certain percent. And I think it's 3 times. When you do it 3 times, it'll make your cast instant. So, meaning you can instant flash heal yourself, your partner, and so on like that. So that's a really good talent to have. And as Ret, yeah, I take that one over the other two. For level 60 talent, I take Clemency. What Clemency is it's the talent that gives me the 2 Hand of Freedoms, 2 Hand of Protections, 2 Hand of Sacrifices. Yeah, once again, as Ret, pretty much Paladin in general takes that. Um, as for the level 75 talent, I take Holy Avenger. Now, Holy Avenger is pretty much your burst. What Holy Avenger does is when you use this ability, whenever you use a spell that gives you holy power, it will give you 3 holy power instead of just 1. So that's basically, I use that with my wings on burst, and that way I can just spam my 2 biggest hitting damage abilities. So yeah, for the level 90, I take Execution Sentence. Now the reason I take Execution Sentence is because its initial heal is really strong. If you're in a lot of trouble, especially if you've got burst and you've popped your burst, you can hit Execution Sentence on yourself or your partner, and its initial heal is really powerful. Its overtime heal's okay. It can be purged or dispelled, but once again, it's the initial heal is what you're using it for. So you pretty much only ever use that on yourself or your partner. As for the level 100 talent, I take Final Verdict. What that does is it changes your Templar's Verdict to Final Verdict, and instead of it being physical, it's magical. So it goes through armor, all of that. It also increases the damage of your next Divine Storm by 100%, and it increases its radius by 50%. Now, I'll talk about that later when I go into abilities. But yeah, they're all of the talents that I use for Ret in PvP. So yeah. Okay, let's talk about abilities that we use as Ret. For damage, we use Crusader Strike, Exorcism, Judgment, and once you've used those 3, you should get your 3 stack of Holy Power, and then you can use your Final Verdict. Now, I'll demonstrate on these little guys here. So Crusader him, Exo him, Judgment him. Now I have my 3 stacked, that means I can Templar's Verdict now. Templar's Verdict on him, and then once I've used that, obviously it uses all my Holy power. So then you just gotta rinse and repeat with Crusader Strike, Exo, and Judgment again. They're pretty much only really the 4 damaging abilities you use. you can use, well, I actually do use Divine Storm, but only when it procs. Because when it procs, it doesn't cost any holy power whatsoever. And it does quite a bit of damage. But in saying that, be mindful when you use it because it's an AoE. And if you're close to a CC target, and you can break them out of that CC, so you just be careful when using that. As for defensive ones and healing ones, Hand of Freedom, that makes you immune to any roots or slows. It can be purged, so bear in mind with that. Also, in saying that, Rets also have an ability called Emancipate. Now, Emancipate does the same thing as Freedoms, except it just doesn't make you immune to the roots or slows. So if you don't have any freedoms on you, what you can do is then Emancipate, and that will still get you out of the root or the slow. And it's the thing about that, it's a global cooldown as well. So that's another. So you should never see Rets sitting roots. Also for support, you have Hand of Protection. Now that's what that does is it makes you immune to physical attacks, but you also can't do physical attacks. I think you can't even do magical attacks either. I'm pretty sure. Just test that out. Yeah, you see, you can't do anything. You can't do any attacks while you have that up on you. You can still take damage from magical, it only stops physical. Another one I use is Divine Protection. Now that's a reduces magical damage taken by 40%. It's really good against spell casters. Oh yeah, the Flash of Light. Now that's just your heal. The way you want to use Flash of Light is you want to use it when it procs, really. So you want to get your 3 stack of Judgment up, and what that'll do is that'll decrease the cast time, and then once you get use Judgment 3 times, it'll make it proc, and it's instant. So that's really handy to have, because you can just when you have it proc, you can instant flash yourself, your partner, and not have to be worried about being kicked or anything. Word of Glory is another heal. That uses your holy power. You can use Word of Glory even if you only have 1 stack of holy power, but obviously its heal's not going to be quite as strong. And the last heal I think that we have is Execution Sentence. Like I said, you only really use that for its initial heal. Its overtime heal is okay, but it can be purged or dispelled. You never want to use it on an enemy. It's wasted on an enemy. It doesn't do enough damage compared to the heal that it'll do on you. And once again, yeah, it's more just for the initial heal. You can use it on yourself or a partner. I'll quickly talk about seals. Now, the seal you want to run is Seal of Truth. What that does is it will put a dot called Censure on the target, stacks up to 5 times, and will increase your damage. Now you'll sit Seal of Truth pretty much all the time, except for when if you're taking a lot of damage or you're really low. I switched to Seal of Insight. Now what Seal of Insight does is it increases healing done to you by 5%, and also gives you your melee attack a chance to heal you. So if I'm taking a lot of damage or I'm really low and my healer is struggling to heal me, I switch to that seal until he can top me, and then once I'm topped, I'll switch back to Seal of Truth. Bear in mind, you don't want to sit Seal of Insight because you'll pretty much do no damage in that seal, so that's why, yeah, once you're top, switch back to Seal of Truth and then you should be good. I don't think I talked about Hand of Sacrifice. Now, what Hand of Sacrifice is you place it on a friendly target, and it will actually break them out of a magical CC. So if my healer or partner is, sheeped or frozen trap, anything like that, anything magical, I can use that, and it will instantly break them out of that CC. So that's pretty much a trinket that I have from my partner. Other abilities is Avenging Wrath. Now that's pretty much your burst. Once again, you use that, and when I use that, I also use Holy Avenger, and that will, each time I use an ability that gives me 1 stack, Holy Power will give me 3, so that way I can spam my Templar's Verdict. And it also lets me use my Hammer of Wrath, which outside of wings, Hammer of Wrath only activates when the enemy target is below 35% health. So, and it's a really strong hit too. So it's another thing to use. Other than that, you have Divine Shield. That's your hard bubble. You can actually do this. Makes you immune to everything. So magical, physical, anything. It'll make you immune to it all. And you can still do damage in it as well, but your damage is reduced by 50%, bear in mind. So yeah, as for abilities, I think that's pretty much it. Buff. You want to run Blessing of Might for buff. That gives you Mastery. That's the one you want to run as Ret. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Alright, so these are the glyphs that I use. My 3 main ones are Glyph of Templar's Verdict. Take 10% less damage for 6 seconds after dealing damage with Templar's Verdict, or Exorcism. I mean, you're going to be constantly using them abilities when you can, so that's, 10% less damage is really good. The other one is, I take Glyph of Hand of Freedom. Now, what this glyph does is reduces CC on you by 25%. In my opinion, that can be really strong. I tested it before with my friend. He cycloned me without me using freedom beforehand. It was a 6-second cyclone. He did it again, obviously after DR. After I'd used Hand of Freedom, it was only 5 seconds. So 1 second in PvP is huge, in my opinion. So I use that. You can use, I think it is Word of Glory. Whenever you use Holy Power on your partner, I believe it is, that increases your damage by 3%. But yeah, once again, I personally use Hand of Freedom, but that's up to you. The other one I use is Burden of Guilt. Now that is the one that when you Judgment hits your target, it'll put a slow on them for 2 seconds. So yeah, that's the other. They're the 3 main glyphs that I use. As for the little ones, I mean, you can use whatever you want because they have nothing to do with your playstyle whatsoever. They're more purely cosmetics or anything like that. So yeah, that's glyphs. Alright, so the gear and enchants that I use, I use the Warmongering Gladiator's Scaled Helm, Gladiator's Pendant of Prowess, Scaled Shoulders, Cloak of Cruelty. I use the Warmongering Gladiator's Plate Chest Guard, Arm Plates of Cruelty for wrists, Scaled Gauntlets, Girdle of Victory for belt, legs is Gladiator's Plate Leggings, and boots are War Boots of Victory. As for the rings, I use Ring of Band of Cruelty. The other ring is Signet of Accuracy. As for the trinkets, I use Insignia of Victory. And the other one is obviously the one that gets you out of stuns. I use the one of Versatility for that. So, and as for weapon, weapon is purely cosmetic. They all have exactly the same stats, so it doesn't matter what weapon you pick for that. That's purely up to you. Now, the reason why I don't have my 4 set is because the off pieces, with the stats on the off pieces, end up being better than what it would be if I did have my 4 set. So that's why you see there I don't have my my 4 set bonus. And as for ret, your main stat is mastery. You want to have as much mastery as you possibly can, followed by versatility. That's why both my trinkets have versatility on them. Other than that, the other two stats I sort of look out for after that is critical strike and haste are the other two. As for the enchants, pretty much all my enchants are versatility, I believe. Yeah. See, I've got 50 versatility on both my rings. My neck's got the 75 one. Back's got the 100 versatility plus 10% movement speed. For weapon enchant, you want to use Mark of Bleeding Hallow. This is for the weapon. So yeah, that's pretty much all my gear that I use. Right, so these are the macros that I use. This is my burst macro. I've got Avenging Wrath, Holy Avenger, and my trinket macroed into this. So whenever I hit that ability, all three of those will activate. This is my stun macro. Now what this macro does is, if I just hit 6, it will stun my target that I'm on. If I hold down shift and hit 6, it will stun my focus target. So that's what that macro does. Same thing with this macro. With my rebuke, if I hit C, it'll rebuke the target that I'm on. Shift C will rebuke my focus target. Now this is my Hand of Sacrifice macro. It's a really simple one. That just lets me place my sacrifice on whatever party member I want. I have it set at party member 1. I mean, in 3s I'll have another one for party member 2. Same thing for the Hand of Freedom, Flash of Light, Word of Glory, Hand of Protection. They're all the same, pretty much. You just change the spell. Now, Execution Sentence, I have it macroed for myself because if I'm on a target and I hit that ability, it'll drop the ability on my target, which I don't want. I want it on myself, so I've made a macro for myself for that. I've also got a macro for my party member. Now, the Judgment macro I have, this is really handy in my opinion. This is really good against stealthies or classes that can remove your focus. What this does is whenever I hit Judgment, whatever I have it focused to, if they're Arena 1, it will refocus them. So if a rogue stealths, he breaks my focus will disappear. Now when he comes back out of stealth, instead of me having to right click on the raid frame, I can just hit Judgment and it'll automatically set him back to focus. Now I have one for Arena 1, 2 and 3, depending which one I want to use. I switch them up. Other than that, for macros, yeah, that's pretty much all I have. I'll put these in the description below if anybody wants them. Other than that, yeah, that's pretty much it. Okay, so the add-ons that I use, purely just the PvP add-ons that I use. First one is Gladiator LOSSA. What this add-on does is it will tell you when an enemy target's going to use certain abilities such as CCs or even their burst. So that's a really good add-on to have. Gladiator, I use that one as well. That just puts up it's a custom frame that it puts up. It'll tell you, it lets you know if the enemy has their trinket or not. So yeah, I use that. Healers have to die. Now this is more of a battleground RPG sort of add-on. I still use it in Arena anyway. It just it'll put a big icon above the healer with a plus symbol on them, letting them know that they're a healer. So yeah, I use that. Omni CC. Now, what that is that add-on. When I use an ability, it puts a little timer over my ability. So that's another one I use. Just makes it easier to let me see when my big cooldowns are about to come off. As far as for PvP, they're pretty much the only ones I use. I mean, the rest are all my personal ones, as in, Bagon and all of that. Oh, and battleground targets also I use it. That's for rated battlegrounds and BGs. What that does is it'll put a little frame up of all of the enemy players, and you can actually target them and see who's targeting them and how much health they have and all of that. So that's another good one to have. Yeah, as for add-ons for PvP, that's pretty much it. Okay guys, so that's my 6.2.4 guide for Ret. Just quickly talk about my experience with Ret. I've played Ret for quite a while. I've been 2k with it before. I've also been 2k with Holy as well, so later on I'll do a Holy guide. If you learned anything or enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and feel free to subscribe. If you feel I've missed anything or explained anything wrong, please leave comments in below. Would love to hear from you guys. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. Peace.